just turned Breaking Bad off, ready to turn fantasy football drafts on. Let's go ahead. Let's hop in Best Ball Mania. This is the largest fantasy football tournament probably ever going to see. Just to let you know, I am going to win it this year. There are a couple spots open in this draft room if you want to hop in with us. But nonetheless, it is a $25 buy-in, $15 million prize pool, $1.5 million for first, $750,000 for second. I mean, you can go through, look all the way down to 20th place. You're winning $100,000, which is really nice because 2 years ago, I got 16th place in Best Ball Mania. I won $10,000, but since they made it a flatter payout structure now, if we can just repeat that, instead, we'll be walking away with $100,000 with this entry. Now, beautiful pick at 6. At 6, we'll be able to make some noise. At 6, we'll be able to get a team that we like. But TRD Outdoors, welcome to being a member of the flock. Appreciate you, my friend. Scissors out here. Hope that you are doing well. Hey, I know it is a super, super, super long shot. But we are having a flock meetup August 22nd, Austin, Texas. Love to have you there, my guy. Love to hang out. But just throwing it out there. Throwing it out there. Let's get it. Jayan saying he doesn't have internet. Why do you not have internet, my guy? What's going on there? Teresa, happy to see you. Jonathan says pick 6 is interesting. To be honest, I'm trying to think if like there's anything weird to talk about with pick 6. Ooh, I guess this may be a little bit interesting because Breece Hall goes at pick 3. Breece Hall pick 3. I do not fault you at all for taking him there. If it is a regular redraft league, you're drafting with your buddies on ESPN, you're drafting with your buddies on Yahoo. If you want to take Breece Hall at 3, go for it. The issue is whenever you're in one of these underdog draft rooms where you get phenomenal running back values late, wide receiver late's hard to come by. Personally, I am just slamming wide receiver there instead. So it is very interesting to see Breece go at 3. This is going to give Jefferson to us at 5. Not super unique. I mean, definitely more unique to go like Chase at 5 than Jefferson at 6. I mean, Jefferson goes at 5, he goes at 6, like half and half. But nonetheless, let's move this over. And yeah, Hall at 3. Not going to help us at 6. You're right, Henry. You're right. Zo the Taco says, I like middle picks this year. I really like any picks before. I like really any of the top 6 picks. Even the top 8 picks, because then you can still get Bijan, you can still get Breece. But yeah, as being able to start off with Jefferson or Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think that you are in a very good spot. Jan says, everyone in Texas that has Spectrum has no internet. My guy, why would you ever have Spectrum? Get you some, I've had the Verizon 5G Wi-Fi in the past, which was good. I think now I have the AT&T fiber. I think I have that at my old apartment, and we have that at the house now. But come on. Step it up, my guy. It's 2024. That team at 12 decides to go a little bit unique. They go Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor. The team at 11 is going to go Puka, and then they should be able to get Harrison if they want to at 14, which would be a little bit of a unique start. There aren't going to be too many Puka-Harrison teams, with Puka primarily going at 10 and Harrison primarily going at like 12 or 13. Now, let's see. HN at 14. Okay, no, deciding to pass there or go super unique. Yeah, this is going to be a fun draft. This should be really good. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what the team at 12 is able to do. If you do decide to go running back, personally, I've had a very difficult time making it work in underdog drafts this year just because I personally am not in love with the wide receiver values and where they currently go. Ah, dear God. Sorry, I'm thinking. I'm going to mix it up. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Saquon Barkley here at 19. The reason the reason Barkley isn't like an auto pick for us here at 19, even though in a regular redraft league, he for sure would be. In underdog drafts, there's a good shot you get Kyren Williams on the way back around at pick 30. I personally really like Kyren in comparison to some of the wide receivers we may be looking at pick 30. So it's not an easy decision to take Barkley where we do, but I think I have some interesting data to show you all on videos later this week that I've been working on. I think Barkley is a better pick than I was initially projecting out. Okay. Now we have Waddle, Ayuk, Neighbors, Nico, all after. And with that interesting data that I came across, I am going to make a video diving in depth about it, but I will say that I really wish I would have done the research before I did any drafts this year and before I took Malik Neighbors. Joey, always happy to see you, my friend. Raphael says, how much quorum do you have compared to Kyren? I can go ahead and I can pull this up for you right now. Kyren goes at 27. So seeing Kyren off the board makes me feel much better about our decision to take Saquon Barkley where we did. Let's look up Rams. I have 15% Kyren, 8% Corum, 8% Puka, 5% Cup, 5% Stafford. Okay, Devonta Smith, Mike Evans, both off. We are going to go wide receiver here. I'm going to go ahead, just take DJ Moore. Not a super interesting pick, not a super unique pick here. I just think that we want one of the receivers that's at the end of this tier. We pretty much lock ourselves into that decision as soon as we go Saquon Barkley there at 19. Obviously, I'd have been excited if we would have had like the ADP value like Devonta Smith fall, and then we could have potentially gone Jalen Hurts there at pick 43. I'd have been interested if we had Mike Evans fall. But Jeep Guy, I'm sorry, my friend. Yeah, I recently came away with some Neighbors takes that I don't think you're going to like. But real quick, what I know y'all will like, if somehow you're not already drafting on Underdog Fantasy, fix your life. If you don't know what we're doing, we draft on Underdog Fantasy every single night. I've done this for years. It's by far and away my favorite place to draft. And of course, if you wanted to join a draft with us, it's not too late. You can find that link in the description, in the comment section. If you use code FLOCK when you sign up to Underdog, you would get my 2024 rankings. You would get my 2024 draft guide. And on top of that, if you use code FLOCK, you'll get set up with a special pick'em. Pick'ems on Underdog are going to be like Deshaun Watson, higher, lower, 3,400 passing yards on the season, just as an example. But you do have to be in one of these states if you want to play on Underdog. It is available in 90% of states. Yes, it's available in California. Yes, it's available in Texas. Yes, it's available in Florida. Yes, it's available in New York. But there is the map, just to be clear. Now, very interesting. You have that team at 11 deciding to go with their third running back through the first 4 rounds. They decided to take Isaiah Pacheco at 38. You have the team at 12 deciding to go with no receivers through the first 4 rounds. They go with the Lamar Andrews stack there at the 3-4 turn, which obviously you're reaching on Lamar Andrews a ton to get him there. There will be other teams that have Lamar and Andrews that took him at the 4-5 turn. I'm not opposed to taking them at the 3-4 turn because I do think it will be a unique build in comparison to the rest of the field. My only thing is, I think if you go running back out the gate, it's going to be almost impossible to catch up at receiver if you go with Lamar Andrews at the 3-4 turn. We've showed off in videos the historical data that if you don't take a wide receiver through the first 4 rounds of your Underdog draft, you are pretty much toast. RIP, the historical data says good freaking luck. I am wishing them the best of luck. It would be very interesting to see how that team looks a couple rounds from now. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Zay Flowers here at 43. Don't think there are going to be a lot of Flowers teams at this price point. I still love having the elite tight end builds. I'm sure y'all have seen me take a lot more Sam Laporta, a lot more Travis Kelce than we have taken Zay Flowers. But strictly from a unique team perspective, I think Flowers here is going to be a little bit tougher to come by than Kelce will be. I think we can Kelce here in another draft. And yeah, I thought I was going to go with Kelce as well, my friend. I was expecting to see Flowers go before Higgins. The frustrating thing is with getting the Flowers value is you would hope that if you take Zay Flowers in the middle around 4, you would have the you would have the hope that you get Lamar on the way back around. But since Lamar here goes to pick 36, we have no shot at getting Lamar at 54. So that's the only like disappointing thing, but it is crazy. Christian says he likes pick 10. Pick 10 has Wilson, Harrison, Diggs, Pittman. Definitely a unique team. Let's see what the rest of the draft room does. McBride goes 49. I'd have been excited to get McBride. Now we are not able. Actually, we can still go Kincaid. Never mind. I don't want to speak too soon. And knowing that we got Zay Flowers at 43, I'm very excited about our decision to take Saquon Barkley where we did. I think the Barkley pick makes a lot of sense now that we got Flowers there. Hollywood goes 50. That's that team's 5th receiver. Bobby Banks says, Laporta's pick 42 now. What have I missed? My friend, you have missed people going nuts. You just saw Anthony Richardson get drafted before Patrick Mahomes. Okay, that is... Team 4 has the best team in this draft, and it's not even remotely close. We are still going to get our elite level tight end. We're still going to get Dalton Kincaid here. But look at Team 4. Team 4 has the absolute freaking dream. Tyreek, Ayuk, Evans. Then they get Kelsey making it to him. And then Mahomes on the way back around to pick 52. They must be freaking pumped. Where you're a pick away, you have Kelsey, you're sweating to see if Mahomes is going to get back to you. You see the team before you, go quarterback. You see the purple off the board. My heart would sink, but then you read it and it's like, oh my God, well, they took Anthony Richardson. They did not take Patrick Mahomes. It's like a quarterback we've seen for about 10 quarters of football over someone that's on the path to potentially be the best quarterback of all time. So very interesting. Now let's see what these teams at 11 and 12 do. Between the two of them through 8 rounds, they have one receiver. That one wide receiver is Puka. Pretty good. But the wide receivers currently available, they have Xavier Worthy, Rome, Addison, Rashee Rice, DeAndre Hopkins. Let's see what they're going to do. And this is why, in my mind, like I think there are other players that are more appealing than those wide receivers on the board currently. But this is why, in my mind, it's difficult to go through and have that 4-round start the way that they did, because then you're stuck taking Christian Watson at 61 over James Cook, over Kyle Pitts, over Joe Mixon. So, I don't know. Frank says, if Ayuk goes to Washington, I see both him and Terry taking it. Oh, for sure. Like, let's just go through and spitball this out. Ayuk has an ADP of 18. If Brandon Ayuk goes to Washington, give me Waddle over him. Give me Nico over him. Give me Metcalf. Give me Debo. Give me Evans. Give me Smith. Give me DJ Moore. I think if Brandon Ayuk went to Washington, he would fall to being a late 3rd round pick for me in underdog drafts. Terry McLaurin, I already think is a bad pick at the 4 or 5 turn. Terry McLaurin would fall to being a 7th rounder to me. I think he'd be going in the Keon Coleman range. Okay, Pitts goes to the dog pound there. Happy to see the dog pound in our drafts. They have the Bijan Pitts combo. Paper God on the clock. They have the elite quarterback, the elite tight end. Love their Laporta pick with where they got him. They go Xavier Worthy. So that is going to give us Joe Mixon at 67. We only have Saquon Barkley. I definitely think we're allowed to take another running back here. Not really stressing it whatsoever. I mean, if we're looking at Mixon in particular, I think it's probably in the down years of his career at this point, but great offense, limited competition, a reasonable price point at pick 67. And yeah, we already, I don't want to say finished our draft at wide receiver. Obviously, we're going to be looking for more receivers on this team, but it's not like we're in the hole that some of the other teams are in. We have Jefferson, we have Moore, we have Flowers. So then we have the flexibility where we're allowed to go Joe Mixon, where we do. Okay. Okay. Z-Bat says, let me get in a draft with Mason. He's drafting all the guys I don't want. My friend, I'm here every single night. You are more than welcome. I implore you. I encourage you, my friend. Come hop in these rooms with us. Let's see it. Let's see it. Mad Baller Skill says, I never liked Neighbors. I know he's good, but in the late second as a rookie with Daniel Jones as quarterback. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to come out with... I haven't recorded the video yet. I've recorded 2 videos that are going to come out very soon. So this will be the 3rd video from now. I'll probably record it in a few days. It'll probably be out sometime like over the weekend. But I have a deep dive with historical data of why it may not make sense to take Malik Neighbors. Okay. King of Kings on the clock. Rashad White at running back, then at receiver, Chase, Waddle, Smith, Amari, and Ridley. They go Deontay Johnson, so we're going to be able to take Brian Thomas here, 6 picks past ADP. I love Brian Thomas, the prospects. I like in Best Ball Mania taking some of these rookies that may back half their production for the upside in weeks 15, 16, 17. I like the fact that we get another potential stack with Trevor Lawrence for this team, where we're sitting here currently with no quarterbacks. We can't stack Barkley with Hurts. We can't stack Mixon with Stroud. We can't stack Kincaid with Allen. We can't stack Flowers with Lamar. So really our only stacking options are Justin Jefferson with around 17 McCarthy, DJ Moore with Caleb Williams. And yeah, so we need more potential quarterbacks that we're allowed to take. Brian Thomas gives us just that. So I think at 78 makes a ton of sense. Frank says, just realized I have 0 Deontay Johnson. My guy, I want to say 2 things. One, I regret almost every Deontay Johnson pick I've made. 2, the benefit of where I took Deontay Johnson, ADP I believe of 72, 73, 74 right now, is we took Deontay a lot earlier in the offseason when Deontay was going at the 7-8 turn. So the pro is we have a better price tag on Deontay on average than where he's going right now. The con is, going back to the Malik Neighbors video, the data that we came across, I don't know. I think it screams that we don't want to be taking Deontay. So I have my shares. Now that he's more expensive, I'm probably going to be avoiding him, at least in Best Ball Mania, where we're trying to chase the highest ceiling possible for weeks 15, 16, 17. Maybe if it was an eliminator draft, and an eliminator draft, I think you can take Deontay just because we're trying to chase a high floor and he will have targets. But we're going to go ahead. We'll take Zamir White at 91. If you are looking at Zamir White, the guy posted a picture, I want to say today or yesterday. I don't know when we saw it. But of him looking absolutely jacked. Can y'all please let me know, did you see the Zamir White picture? Jeep Guy says, argue Brees over McCaffrey. The only argument that you'd have for Brees over McCaffrey is the age. If CMC stays healthy and he gives you 90 or even 80% of what he's done over the past 2 years, Christian McCaffrey runs laps around everyone. He is the number 1 pick in fantasy. The only argument you'd have for Brees over CMC is if you're worried that CMC is at a higher risk for injury. Okay, so people saw the pick. I think that's the only thing that it makes Zamir draftable. Joshua says Zamir looks like MJD now. So I think the average, like a casual fan of this channel would think Joshua was talking about Maurice Jones-Drew. Obviously, if y'all remember, short, stout, freaking beast, a tank of a man. But if you really know what's up, you know what Joshua actually means here is Zamir looks like Mason James Dodd right now. The difference between Zamir and Mason James Dodd is I believe Mason's listed at 6'4". So he's not a stout. He's just alpha all around, but I don't know. Okay. Pollard goes off the board. Pick 100. Quarterback, Dak, Love, Daniels. I think we may go Jordan Love. The thing with taking Love here is we at least have Packers options later on. Let's go ahead and let's pull this up. Packers. We can go Dobbs. We can go Wicks. We can go Lloyd. We can go Musgrave. If we completely whiff, we can go Tucker Kraft. Where if we were to take Dak, then at that point, Brandon Cooks and Zeke are really our only options. So we'll take Love, and we'll hope that we can get a couple Packers later on. And if we whiff on Packers, here's what we're going to say. I've won tournaments with unstacked Patrick Mahomes before. Maybe Jordan Love is the next guy to spread the ball around to 12 players are touching the ball from a week-to-week perspective on the Packers. And Love can dominate without any one individual player seeing a massive spike. Maybe, possibly, probably not. But we're going to pretend. Okay. Drusiver says, Spears is the guy in the Tennessee backfield anyway. Let everyone take Pollard. My thing with Pollard Spears is I would be okay with people making an argument saying like, okay, no, Spears can take over. Spears maybe can turn into the guy. I'd rather have Spears at a discount in comparison to Pollard. I'm all aboard that thought process. Makes a lot of sense. Understand where you're coming from. But Spears goes like right after Pollard. There's a 10-pick gap with him in ADP. So I don't know if I love the idea of like banging the drum saying, oh no, ignore Pollard, go after Spears. Paper God's not going to go quarterback. They have Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels. Are they on auto? I don't think so. They go Brandon Cooks. We could go Caleb Williams, get the Caleb DJ Moore stack. We could go with we're just going to take Caleb. We're going to lock in the 2 quarterback builds with Jordan Love and Caleb Williams. The hope, of course, is that we get Dontavian Wicks on the way back around. Personally, I think we're way more likely to be able to get Caleb and Dontavian if we go with Caleb first. The reason being is if you look at the side of the draft board that these other Chicago Bears are on, that team at 1 currently has Rome Odunze, and at the same time, they don't have a single quarterback. So I think that there would be a good shot that they would come away with another QB, and that QB would probably be Caleb. JB says, do you think at least one receiver is essential at the turn if CMC's picked up 1? Personally, yes. I think this year in particular, where it's very difficult to find wide receiver values late. I mean, y'all can probably see in my drafts. Typically, I'm trying to have a good amount of wide receivers through the first 7 rounds because once we get to rounds 8, 9, and 10, I never want to be taking my wide receiver. So if I go CMC at 1, I think I at least have to get, I try to grab 2 wide receivers at the 2-3 turn. As the thing is, if CMC is the guy that wins tournaments this year, with him being the number 1 overall pick, if he's going to win you a tournament, he has to have the position on lock. Christian McCaffrey has to stay healthy and he has to average 20 points per game minimum. Antler Ice, happy to see you, my guy. Happy to see you. And just in case you have not seen, because I don't think I've seen you in the stream as of late. This goes to everybody, of course. We are having a flock meetup August 22nd, Austin, Texas. You better be there. You better make plans for it. I'm going to need to know how many people are going to show up. For that reason, I'm probably going to sell tickets for like $10 each. Just essentially used as an RSVP so I know who's going to be there. And so I can tell the venue. Dontavian Wicks goes. Super frustrating. Obviously, we wanted Dontavian. At this point, we can just go ahead and we can just pull the trigger on another receiver and Mike Williams. Would have been way better to get Wicks, though, for sure. But anyway, probably sell tickets. That'll be like $10 for the meetup on August 22nd. But if you're coming from out of town, if you DM me a receipt of the hotel you get in Austin or the Airbnb or whatever the hell it is, and tell me how many people are coming with you, I'll set aside those tickets for you for free, because if you give me a hotel receipt, I'm assuming that means you're going to be here. I'm assuming you're going to be here. So, would love to see as many of y'all in Austin, Texas, August 22nd as possible. Penix says, what's up? I'm back. Did we settle on Grant's format for the flock tournament? I think so. What I'm going to try to do, I'm going to reach out to my Underdog contact. I'm going to ask him if it's possible if we can do a lot of small tournaments. Because if it's possible that we can do a lot of small tournaments, I think what we'll probably try doing is like a 10,000 person tournament. And then have one team advance. One out of 12 teams advance in the... Or even we can do like a 5,000 person tournament. One team advances in your 12 team league. Then heads up week 15, heads up week 16, and then like a 100 person final. So I'm going to see if we can do the 5,000 entry tournament and see if we can do like maybe like one flock tournament a week with that setup, which I think would be really cool. But if it was a 5,000 person tournament, I'm assuming that, and I could be wrong. Maybe I'm thinking way more people are going to want to be in the flock tournament than there actually will be. But I'm thinking it'll probably fill like in a day or two if it's like a $5 buy-in. Okay. So let's look at this. We are going to go Josh Downs, just playing catch-up at receiver. Right now at wide receiver, we have Jefferson, DJ Moore, Zay Flowers, Brian Thomas, Mike Williams, Josh Downs. Running back, we have Barkley, Mixon, Zamir White. Tight end, we have Dalton Kincaid. Quarterback, we sadly whiffed on our Jordan Love stacks. It is what it is. We are probably going to target Luke Musgrave on the way back around. And we have Caleb stacked up with DJ Moore. Lee says, I wasn't here yesterday, but I like that idea, and planning for it would be different. I think it would be fun. Because I think if you like advance to week 15 and then advance to week 16, I think it'd be a fun sweat. You going up against just just one other person. I think it would really feel like a regular fantasy football playoff situation. Until obviously it gets week 17. We're going to see if we get Luke Musgrave. This team could definitely take a tight end if they really wanted to. Dan says, I feel like the Green Bay offense is so ambiguous that naked Jordan Love is preferable until the preseason. I understand where you're coming from, but I mean, for us to win a tournament and take it down, we kind of need to embrace the variance and take some of these guys that, I mean, and maybe it is Tucker Kraft. Maybe we're way wrong taking Luke Musgrave. But on the flip side, maybe Musgrave turns out to have a significant target share in this offense, turned into a top 5 tight end in fantasy, gives us some spike weeks in weeks 15, 16, 17. And I don't know. I'd rather have at least Love stacked up with one option, knowing that he's not going to run the ball Like I said, we've won tournaments before with naked Mahomes. The reason is the Chiefs offense is very unique in that you can see 10, 11, 12 guys touching the football. Maybe Green Bay ends up being like that. I'm not going to plan for it. I'm still definitely going to try to get our correlating pieces with Jordan Love, but I don't think it's the absolute end of the world if we only have Luke Musgrave to pair with him. Okay. Penix says, that works well. My 1v1 idea required a 16,000 person tournament. You can kind of pick and choose the size. Yeah, let me shoot an email over to Underdog. And real quick, speaking of Underdog, I got an email. I forgot to let y'all know this. This is both if you're new to Underdog and if you've been on Underdog for a while. They're doing a site-wide promo for the Pick'em. Everybody should have this. What is it? Oh, it's for the Home Run Derby. That's what it is. Okay, that's cool. And maybe it would give you a reason to watch the Home Run Derby. It's a site-wide special pick'em. Gunnar Henderson. Higher, lower, half a home run in the Home Run Derby. So, if you're on Underdog, I would take advantage because there's no reason not to. So, let's move this around. Running backs definitely in play for us here. I mean, we are sitting with only 3 running backs with Barkley, Mixon, Zamir. The interesting question that we could have is what are we going to do at quarterback and what are we going to do at tight ends? We're going to go Jalen Wright. I've not taken much Jalen Wright whatsoever. I definitely have noticed that he is falling in ADP, so getting him here at 163 is by no means some great value. I think Jalen Wright's going to continue to fall. I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Wright ends up with an ADP in round 15, where right now he has an ADP in round 13. But what's going to be interesting to look at is could we potentially get away with taking a third quarterback or a third tight end? We for sure can't take 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends. It would be one or the other. But this will be a 5 running back team. We're going to have Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon, Zamir White, Jalen Wright, and then we'll grab one more guy. Wide receiver, we're currently sitting with Justin Jefferson, DJ Moore, Zay Flowers, Brian Thomas, Mike Williams, Josh Downs. Quarterback, we have Jordan Love stacked with Luke Musgrave. We have Caleb stacked with DJ Moore. And we have Kincaid and Musgrave at tight end. So as we talk through this and as we look at this, especially because we would kind of need Luke Musgrave to hit for the Green Bay stack, I think a third tight end probably doesn't make sense on this build. If we were going to go with a third option of one of the onesie positions, I think the third option would most likely make the most sense at quarterback. We'll just go ahead. We'll lock in Antonio Gibson. Gibson, another player that's falling in these drafts. And every time we take Gibson, I say strong reason why to take Antonio Gibson. He's the backup running back in what projects out to be the worst offense in the NFL. There's nothing more desirable than a backup running back in the league's worst offense. So, and yes, real quick, if you have not done so already, if you want another draft, please go down there. Hit that like button. If we hit 300 likes on this stream, by the time I make my round 18 pick, that's the cutoff. All right. Don't scream at me. If we hit 300 likes, we will fire up another Best Ball Mania after this. Okay. Hank says, hey, Mason, what should my strategy be with the 7th pick in an 8-team redraft league? If trades are allowed in your draft, trade up as much as humanly possible. Depth is not going to matter at all. Assuming you have a shallow bench, the waiver wire is going to be full of wide receivers that you can start every single week. So if you are in an 8-team shallow redraft league, get an elite quarterback, get an elite tight end, get some elite running backs. Wide receiver and running back value is going to be insane late. So there, I'm going to be targeting Laporta. I'm going to be targeting Kelsey. I'm going to be trying to get an advantage at one of the 1C positions. And obviously running back as well. Okay, Khalil Herbert goes 181. And yeah, we're done at running back here. So we are exclusively wide receiver and potentially quarterback. I don't know. I don't think we have to go with the quarterback. I don't think that's going to be plan A, but it would be a possibility to go with the third. Now, the question is, okay, well, what quarterback would you possibly go with? Baker is a great ADP. I guess we could go Baker and then Jalen McMillan on the way back around. That is a possibility. Other options at quarterback, if we wanted to go with them, we could go McCarthy with Justin Jefferson. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to roll the dice that we get McMillan on the way back around. We'll take Baker. Maybe this is dumb, and it probably is dumb. But the reason I don't particularly want to go through and take McCarthy on this team is we already have Caleb. I don't see how taking 2 rookie quarterbacks gets us there and all of a sudden we win a tournament from it. Can y'all spam the chat? Has there ever been a draft class where we had 2 rookie quarterbacks coming on and blowing up year one? Have we ever seen 2 rookie quarterbacks from the same draft class blow up together? Maybe it's just like I'm skewed because what we saw last year's class, and I can imagine one quarterback blowing up like Stroud. And we didn't see multiple do it last year. Dan says not since the Marino era. And yeah, that was before my time. C. Dillon says RG3 year maybe. Obviously, RG3 went nuts. Raphael says Mahomes and Watson. Yeah, Mahomes didn't play until 2018, but that is a good point. Let me... Looking at the 2012 draft, you had Luck and RG3. But, I mean, we're going 12 years ago to try to find something here. Tannehill did nothing. Brandon Whedon did nothing. Brock Osweiler did nothing. You had Russ. It's not like Russ getting drafted in fantasy. Ooh, crap. We almost autoed. We would have autoed the guy that we wanted anyway. We wanted McMillan to pair up with Baker. So we're going to go ahead. We'll take him as our wide receiver 7, and we will grab another wide receiver at the very end of this draft. But thank you. Yeah, and the Zach Wilson class, obviously, people were very excited about. Lance didn't even start year 1. Fields was gross. Wilson was gross. Lawrence as a rookie was an abomination. So, yeah, in general, I don't think we've seen it before or at least over the past 10 years, where 2 rookie quarterbacks came in and both crushed the same season. Does that mean our Baker pick of 187 was good? Who knows? Probably not. but we're going to pretend like it was anyway. Okay. Sam, I will make a full-blown stacking video. Essentially, stacking is viable. There's math behind it in best ball that we can prove. But if you just think about it, stacking's a strategy that essentially polarizes and correlates the bets that you make on your team. Every time you draft a player, you're essentially making a bet saying this guy's going to be good. If you take players like quarterbacks and receivers from the same offense, you're really just saying this passing offense is going to be better than people are expecting. And if that is true, you hit on multiple bets on the same roster. Which if it's false, if it's wrong, you maybe have multiple busts on the same team. But the worst place to be in fantasy football is in 6th place, in 5th place, in 7th place, being stuck right in the middle. Doesn't do you any favors. You don't win any money. You get no prizes. It's the same thing as getting last. So essentially, I'm trying to polarize my teams, and I'm trying to have more teams get first place and more teams get last place. And I don't want any of the garbage in 5th and 6th and 7th. Yes, it works in every kind of fantasy league. Doesn't matter if it's dynasty, redraft, best ball. But I will slow down. I'm not going to make my pick right away. Like I said, if we hit 300 likes on this stream, by the time we make our 18th round pick, we'll fire up another draft after this. If not, no worries, ladies and gentlemen. I'll craft up the Underdog email, send it over to them for our tournaments. But let's move this around. Okay. We are 10 likes away, it looks like. Okay. Jalen Hyatt goes, let's sit here and think long and hard about a quarterback. A wide receiver that may make sense for this team. Wide receiver is disgusting here. Please spam the chat right now. Did we get any bad Zay Jones news? I'm not going to take a rookie receiver. We already have a ton of rookies on this team. Did we get any bad Zay Jones news? The Fiji Panini, happy to see you, my friend. I need to know if there's anything negative about Zay Jones that came out. I know he's not great at football, but has there been any news over the past few weeks that's changed anything? Okay, it looks like there's nothing. Ball King says broke hip, but I'm assuming I would have heard if that actually happened. So we'll go ahead. We will take Jones to 11. And we're going to fire up another Best Ball Mania draft. I think that draft was fine. I'm not going to act like it was the best draft that we've ever done. Hopefully this next one will be a little better. There are 11 spots open in this league when I joined. So if y'all joined at the same time as I did, we should be drafting against 11 of y'all. We'll see. Okay. We're going to be at pick 8. Anything inside the top 8, I'm chilling with. We are in a good spot. Okay. And I was hoping that I would have set up the Flock League YouTube channel for everybody to follow, but your boy sadly did not. He didn't have enough time. So I will set up the Flock League YouTube channel for tomorrow night to get people to start following that, because I am so freaking excited about that. I think that's going to be so much fun. I think it'll be a completely different thing that nobody's seen before in fantasy football, at least on YouTube. Okay, let's go ahead. Vinzi says, what Flock League? I talked about this last night, but essentially we're going to make like a fantasy football league with myself and a bunch of the creators on flockfantasy.com, like the guys at Fantasy Domain, Fantasy Stock Exchange, Fantasyland. We're going to get the developers of flockfantasy.com in the league as well. I'm going to get my editor in the league, and it's going to be a YouTube channel where we just cover the league, have a lot of fun with it, talk some trash. You'll be able to follow, root for who you like, and hopefully you're rooting for yours truly. It should be fun. And yeah, and everybody there should be at the meetup as well. But Green Blocker in here with us at pick 12. Ooh, we're going to get Bijan at 8. Typically, I'm taking Brees, but it looks like Ledex, who I believe is in this live stream, goes Brees instead. But Gavin says, missed yours again. We got the number 1 pick this time. Well, congrats. JRV at 3, Frank at 6, Ledex at 7, Daniel in here at 2. Happy to see y'all. Happy to see y'all. I'm going to invite Nick to the league, but I don't know. It's going to, I'd imagine, be difficult for him to get to. He's in New York, so I don't know how easy it's going to be for him to get to Austin. It's going to be like an in-person draft. We'll have like a physical draft board, and we'll do stickers. There'll be live stream. It should be a ton of fun. I'm really excited. Tresner says, at 8, I love opening Bijan and Harrison. Well, Harrison goes at 11, my friend. So it looks like Harrison's not an option for us here. If we got Puka, I'd lose my mind. But yeah, Puka goes 14. I think if you wanted a Harrison Puka, why don't you just take Puka at 11? You know, why do you have to get why do you have to get my hopes up? Why do you have to have me thinking I'm going to be able to get Bijan and Puka on the same roster? Colin saying he's in Dripping Springs, going to come down for the meetup. You better come down for the meetup, my friend. Really looking forward to it. And I am not from Austin. I'm from like a suburb outside of San Antonio. But I went to UT. So my first time living in Austin was living downtown. So, and that's where I've spent the most because I was there at UT for 4 years. So if I'm from anywhere in Austin, I guess downtown. Steve says he opened up Bijan JT at the 108 in his draft. Well, we're going to go Olave here at 17. If you look at how the ADP lines up, Bijan primarily goes at pick 7. Olave goes at like 16 in a lot of these drafts. So I think there shouldn't be a ton of Bijan Olave overlap. I mean, there's definitely going to be some. I don't want to act like it's the most unique team ever. If we were somehow able to get Puka at 17, then obviously that would have been a dream. That would have been all the upside in the world. A start that very few people would be able to match, but it is what it is. Sam says he's in East Austin. My friend, August 22nd, you better clear your calendar. Steve says, is Austin impacted by the hurricane? It's not raining here, so I would love for it to be raining. Let me go. But JN said a bunch of people in Austin don't have Wi-Fi for whatever reason, which I haven't heard anything. I checked my weather app. Looks to be sunny. Teresa coming to the meetup. Hell yes. Super pumped. Yeah, like I said, shoot me a message. I'll be happy to save you a ticket. Tresner says, Mason, you ever think Puka at 17 is even possible? I think Puka at 17 is possible. I could almost guarantee you. How many underdog drafts have there been? Let's go ahead and let's look at this. There have been 255,000 teams drafted on Underdog. That's like 20,000 drafts. Out of those 20,000 drafts, I can almost guarantee you, yes, Puka has made it to 17 in one of them. I don't know how many, but he has made it to 17. And Laura says, 15 up. Let's go. Let's go. Alexis says, stay out in Kyle. I used to work out at the gym in Kyle. What time? August. It's going to be Thursday, August 22nd. It'll probably be 6 or 7. I know this is Brian's in Pflugerville. You better be coming out as well, my guy. Gavin says, why is it during the week and not on the weekend? Sorry about that. The weekend would have been better for the meetup. I agree with you. The reason it's during the week, however, is I got a massive, I had to get an Airbnb in Austin for 6 different fantasy football creators that are going to be here, 3 developers, my editor, and then an Airbnb that also has enough things for everybody to do during the week, an Airbnb that has some cool recording spots, an Airbnb that has enough, that's close enough to town. Essentially, the only Airbnb I could find for a week was available like Monday through Friday. It wasn't available on the weekend. So we want to have all the other fantasy football creators there as well. So Thursday night's the last night that everybody's in town. So we're going to do it Thursday night for that reason. Tresner says the random scroll down made me laugh. I'm sorry. I was trying to scroll down on the chat so I could pull up some more of your questions. Okay. Bitcoin Buzz says fantasy football aces at 11. My friend, why did you go Harrison at 11 just to steal Puka from us at 14? You got my hopes up. The Pound, good draft earlier, my guy. It was a crazy draft. There were some crazy people in that draft room. Gavin, 11-hour drive from Albuquerque to Austin. I can do it. If y'all are coming from out of town, that is incredible. I really appreciate it. And like I said, if you need to get a hotel for a night, the tickets are only going to be like $10 regardless. And essentially, the only function of a ticket is for me to know who's going to show up. But if you send me a hotel receipt or something, I know you're coming. So you can just waive whatever the hell the ticket is. I may mix in Pacheco. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to go Amari. We're going to be very boring. We're going to take Amari Cooper. The simple reason for this is twofold. Let's explain why we're not going to go Pacheco. Then let's explain why we're not going to go Hurts. One, for us to go Jalen Hurts, I think it would make more sense in 2 separate circumstances. One, I think Jalen Hurts would make more sense where we did not already deviate from wide receiver in the early rounds by taking Bijan in round 1. I think if we were that team at 6 where you go St. Brown, Adams, Diggs, I think there a selection of Jalen Hurts probably makes more sense. 2, I think Jalen Hurts possibly makes more sense on a team where we go A.J. Brown in round 1. So I think that there are going to be 2 separate builds where Jalen Hurts makes more sense in drafts than specifically this one. The reason we don't go Pacheco is very similar. We already took Bijan, and honestly, there's a shot that we get Josh Jacobs on the way back around at pick 56, and I think I could potentially make an argument for Jacobs straight up over Pacheco. At the very minimum, I think they're in the same tier, whereas the wide receivers that are going to be there in round 5 in comparison to Amari Cooper, I do think are a tier below. So, it's tough. Dago asking if we ever cover redraft fantasy stuff. Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything that we do should be applicable to best ball and redraft. Obviously, some are a little more geared towards one or the other. The videos that I just recorded should be very applicable, where what we're going to start doing in all the videos is I'm going to start talking about a player, the range of outcomes. And what I specifically did in the video I recorded today that should come out in a couple days is for instance, we looked at a running back like Javonte Williams, and I said the ceiling is probably going to be a little bit capped with Javonte, so it probably doesn't make sense to take him in like a Best Ball Mania draft on Underdog. It probably doesn't make sense to take him in your regular redraft league if it's a shallow redraft league, but where it maybe makes sense is to take him in like an Underdog Eliminator contest. So I'm going to try to add that nuance to the videos that we're putting out, telling you like, okay, this fantasy football format, he's a good pick. This fantasy football format, he's a bad pick, and everything in between. Jacobs goes at 52, which is a little sad. Like I said, I do really like round 5, Josh Jacobs. Waffle Taco, dear God, that was plan A, plan B, plan C for us. Jacobs, Kincaid, McBride, all off the board. But It is what it is. Pick 56 definitely looks a lot less exciting now. Okay. CJ Stroud off the board. We'll just take Reed, continue to give ourselves quarterback options later on. I would have been so pumped to get one of Jacobs, Kincaid, or McBride. But it is what it is. Looks like we're going anchor running back, catching up at wide receiver. And we'll figure it out. Gavin says, what do you think of Mahomes and Hollywood at the 4-5 turn? I really like the Mahomes price point. I really don't like the Hollywood price point personally. Personally, I'd way rather have round 6 Xavier Worthy than round 4 Hollywood Brown. I would probably, in a tournament style contest where we're just looking for upside in weeks 15, 16, 17, I would potentially rather have Worthy straight up over Hollywood. So I have taken very little Hollywood Brown. Let me go ahead now. I'll pull up how much Hollywood I have. I have 3% Hollywood Brown. I have 17% Worthy. Okay. Our guy goes. Addison off the board. We'll take White. We were going to plan on Addison. You could make an argument for Rome to go with the potential Chicago Bears double stack. Go DJ Moore, Rome, and then set up Caleb Williams a little later on. But I think Rachaad White here at 65 makes sense when we decided to pass on Pacheco in the 4th. And we did not get Jacobs making it back to us in the 5th. Okay. Bitcoin says, love this draft so far. One of my favorites. Bitcoin currently sitting at 11. Receiver is Harrison, Puka, Pittman. Kelsey there at 38. Anthony Richardson stacked him with me. I really like your draft as well. The only thing is, my guy, you got my hopes up that we were going to get Puka. Got my hopes up. Okay. The Almighty Hat Snatcher says 8% Hollywood, 13% Worthy for them. Okay. Let's move this over. So we have Rome, Rice, Hopkins here in the middle of the 6th. Bitcoin says, I wanted JT on the way back. Didn't think 12 would go 2 RBs. So essentially looking at Harris. Okay, that makes sense. Looking to go like Harrison Taylor and just say, oh, okay, I'll just have Unique start. Which I think if you would have done that, it would have been very difficult for you to go Kelsey, Richardson, Mixon. So it probably works out for the best. Raphael says 17% Rice, 0% Hollywood, 0% Worthy. Bean Salad asking what our Rice percentage is. Our Rice was respectable until I'm at 5% Rice. What I want to do is I want to break this down between the Eliminator versus Best Ball Mania. Because I have done... How many Eliminator drafts? Can I find the Eliminator tournament? Oh, perfect. It already breaks it down. I have... What's very funny is if you look at my exposures in the Eliminator, I have 0% Chubb, 0% Rice, 0% Hawkinson. Like those guys that I think have upside for weeks 15, 16, 17, I have been taking in Best Ball Mania, but just not really in the Eliminator contest. So looking at this draft board, probably doesn't make sense for us to take Kyler here since we whiffed on McBride. Who was the team that took McBride? Interesting that the team that took McBride decided to go Keon Coleman instead of Kyler. So since Kyler doesn't make sense, and typically we are wanting to get a quarterback tight end by this point. We don't want to just strictly stay at wide receiver, running back. Evan Ingram looks to be the best play for us at tight end. I don't know how much Evan Ingram. I have noticed that he is falling in these drafts, which I'm fine with the Lawrence ADP, but it's just, I haven't drafted a lot of Evan Ingram. I previously, and I'm still not taking much Christian Kirk. So just for those reasons, I don't have a lot of Trevor Lawrence, even though, I only have 5% Lawrence, even though I really do like Lawrence's ADP in general. Adrian says 0% Chubb is crazy. That's the Eliminator tournament on Underdog. The Eliminator tournament on Underdog is where at the beginning of the season you get knocked out if you don't have a certain threshold of points. So in the Eliminator, points at the beginning of the season matter just as much as points at the end of the year. Where in Best Ball Mania, points at the end of the year matter exponentially more than points at the beginning of the season. So in Best Ball Mania, in tournaments with a similar structure, I have 18% Chubb. So it's very funny. In the Eliminator, I have 0%. And the other tournaments, I have 18%. Because you kind of want to be profiling those guys as options for back half production, upfront production, and understanding which tournaments they fit in with your context. With your contest selection. We're going to get Ramondre Stevenson at 89. I will be very happy about this because going back to what we talked about in the draft that we took Antonio Gibson in with the last one, the best thing that you can do is take these running backs that are in the worst offense in the NFL. It's a genius move by yours truly. There's truly nothing smarter because the last thing you want is for your running backs in fantasy football to score too many touchdowns. I've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it. But there's nothing more frustrating if one of your guys in fantasy football scores a touchdown, they're dancing in the end zone, they pull a hamstring, they pull a groin, and then all of a sudden they miss time. So I would prefer to draft these guys that won't be scoring touchdowns so we don't have to worry about that. Green Blocker says, I know you won't agree with my strat this draft. At pick 12. Let's see, my friend. Going to RB out the gate, then Flowers, Higgins, Godwin, Worthy. Let's see if you're able to make it work. Will be very interesting. Okay. Now, Brooks, Samuel, Warren, Bowers, all off. Let's move this down. Mostert, Moss. Daniels goes 97. So we did give ourselves the ability to more comfortably go Jordan Love here in round 9 since we take Jaden Reed. Not Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels goes at 97. And it's very interesting to see, obviously, the entire fantasy football community, including myself, I'm not acting like I was any smarter, whiffed so hard on Lamar back his first season starting. Where Lamar, if underdog drafts were occurring, would have been a pick at the very end. Just because you didn't know if Lamar is going to be good or not. But clearly people have learned it doesn't matter if you're Justin Fields level bad. If you're going to run the ball like crazy, you're going to put up a ridiculous amount of fantasy points. So when you don't know if Jaden Daniels is going to be any good or not, it makes sense for him to automatically go as a top 10 quarterback because of his rushing upside. Okay, Pollard goes 101. Interesting to have back-to-back drafts where Dak Prescott falls past the CeeDee Lamb team. Javonte goes 102. We are more likely than not going to get Jordan Love making it back to us. And yes, that does happen. So we're going to go Jordan Love, pair him up with Jaden Reed. This team right after us has Ferguson, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if they decide to go Dak. They do decide to go Dak. And now at running back, we have Bijan, Rashad White, Ramondre Stevenson. Wide receiver, we have Olave, DJ Moore, Amari, Jaden Reed. Quarterback, we have Jordan Love stacked up with Jaden Reed. Okay. The Almighty Hat Center says, I've been stacking Ayuk and Daniels every now and then, just in case Ayuk gets traded. I don't hate it, my friend. I mean, if you think there's a real shot it happens. I have drafted a lot of Ayuk, so I am really hoping that Ayuk is not traded. But realistically, I don't know what the probability is one way or another. We'll go ahead. We'll take Brian Thomas. Caleb Williams could be in play for us here in round 10 since we have DJ Moore. Trevor Lawrence could have been in play for us as well. But I don't know. Braden says, why did you choose Stevenson over Brooks? The honest truth for you, I mean, both running backs are in horrendous offenses. Both running backs have similar concerns, but obviously Jonathan Brooks has the injury. But a big thing is knowing Ramondre goes in round 7 in the vast majority of these leagues, and I will always be able to get Jonathan Brooks round 8, and I've already drafted more Jonathan Brooks than I have Ramondre Stevenson. From a balanced portfolio perspective, it makes sense when Ramondre falls 8 picks past ADP for me to just go ahead and take the value. Because there'll be another draft where I don't even have the decision, right? So if I decided all of a sudden today, I'm going to start taking Jonathan Brooks ahead of Ramondre Stevenson every single time, I will end drafts this year with Jonathan Brooks in like 30% of my leagues, Ramondre Stevenson in 0% of my leagues. And am I that confident in Brooks over Ramondre? No, I'm not. Maybe I like the Brooks ADP more, so maybe I want Jonathan Brooks in 15% of leagues and Ramondre Stevenson in 5% of leagues, and I'm making these numbers up. But just as an example, in comparison to saying, okay, I'm going to have Jonathan Brooks in 30% and Ramondre Stevenson in 0. Jay, I'm sorry. I never saw your question. I tried finding it. I can't see it, my friend. Okay. Andy says they're arguing over $4 million a year. They'll find a middle ground. Obviously I have no idea what it's like to be a professional athlete. I have no idea what it's like to argue over $4 million a year. But I would just imagine like it'd be so hard to prepare for the season with that on your back. I mean, I guess that's why you have an agent to take care of it, you know. But yeah, I mean, I would just be a nervous wreck. Chase Brown goes 124. I'm probably not wanting to take a running back. Reason being, we can only take one more running back on this team. We take a running back here at 128. All of a sudden, we're in a spot where I just simply can't take a running back the rest of the draft, no matter what I think of the value or not. So I would rather have the flexibility, knowing that we're going to still need like another 4 receivers from this draft. I'm probably thinking wide receiver here at 128. Jared Goff, it doesn't make sense for us. Goff's going to have 2 rushing yards per game this season. And Jared Goff. And we have no stacking options for Goff. So for us, Goff didn't make sense. Dontavian Wicks makes a whole lot of sense considering the fact that we have Jordan Love here. So now we can go with the Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed double stack. And like we said, we were wanting to go wide receiver regardless. So I think Wicks is pretty solid pick. Now Charbonnet goes 131. I really like the Eckler Charbonnet value. I already have a lot of both these guys. But I think just specifically on this team, if we have 4 running backs in the first 11 rounds, running backs not necessarily our plan A here. Now, it would be nice to get Pat Frymuth at 137 for us. There is that team right before us that already has 2 tight ends with Laporta and Ferguson, so they're not taking another tight end. These 2 teams definitely could if they wanted. But why I would be excited about Frymuth is I think I could feel comfortable having Evan Ingram, Pat Frymuth as our only tight ends. I haven't drafted a lot of Frymuth this year. I don't know if it's just because he burned me last season. The other question is if Judy does make it to us and we still need receivers, Judy would potentially give us an Amari, Judy, Watson double stack. That could be implied. We take whoever falls between Judy and Frymuth. I'm assuming it's Frymuth. That is the case. So we'll take Pat Frymuth here at 137. I'm going to really hope that this means we can only take, we only need to take 2 tight ends with the combo of Evan Ingram and Pat Frymuth. Frymuth for his first and second seasons in the league, a very, very strong option in comparison to an average rookie and an average second-year player at the position. But, I don't know. I thought I was smart drafting this guy over Sam Laporta last season. So I do just feel like I've been bamboozled with him. Okay. Bubba Trailer says, Atlanta coach as the new offensive coordinator. I'll fade all Pittsburgh tight ends. I guess the play is to not take the starting tight end for Pittsburgh, and instead we want to take the backup tight end. Let's fire up all of the Darnell Washington you can get. Tresner says, I'll never draft Frymuth. That's just me, though. Let me see how many drafts I have Frymuth in. I have Frymuth in actually 7% of drafts, which is more than I was expecting. Okay, let's move this down. But yeah, we're done drafting tight end here once we take Frymuth. And we are only going to get one more running back in this roster. We're going to go 8 wide receivers. I do think this is a team, if we really wanted to, we could take 3 quarterbacks. Well, it says the Muth is going to have a good year. They can't throw to Pickens all the time. Pat Frymuth is still very young. It really comes down to what are you expecting with the offense with Russ and if you're drafting him. Well, it says Pat Frymuth is basically Ferguson if you think about it. From a base level, I agree with you. With how the offense is set up, where you don't have the wide receiver 2 locked in, you don't have the wide receiver 3 locked in, so the tight end should project to have a high target share. The massive difference between Frymuth and Ferguson, though, is one is in a phenomenal offense and the other is in a very bad offense. It's as simple as that. I have no idea what we do here. I think we may go Jaleel. No, we're going to take Jalen Wright. I think Jalen Wright, like I said previously, is going to continue to fall down draft boards. Denver's going to be a horrendous offense. I don't know. We should have gone Jaleel. Bad call. I panicked in that we already had Ramadre. We already had Brian Robinson with the week 14 bye. This was our last running back. I didn't know if we wanted to have 3 out of our 5 running backs with the week 14 bye. Something that I usually never care about in Best Ball Mania. Maybe we've been drafting too many eliminator teams. Maybe that's gotten to our head. The real thing that we need to address is why the hell did I take Pat Frymuth instead of Nick Chubb? I would way rather have Nick Chubb and Luke Musgrave than Frymuth and Jalen Wright, regardless of having Jordan Love on this team or not. Yeah. The Jalen Wright pick, I don't think is bad in itself. I think we didn't really have any strong options, and the Jalen Wright pick was our hand being forced from us putting ourselves in a bad situation previously. Now, see what this team ahead of us does. They probably pass on Cousins because they don't have any Falcons. We have Bijan. Obviously, Bijan Robinson is not how you want to correlate with Kirk Cousins. The vast majority of the rest of the field is going to go London, is going to go Pitts with Cousins. We actually see Kirk Cousins go here unstacked. I was going to take Cousins with Bijan. I think we are going to go ahead, take Deshaun Watson as our quarterback too. We get Watson paired up with Amari. This is a gross range of the draft. While we do have Jordan Love, we took Jordan Love at pick 104. We took Deshaun Watson at pick 161. So I think it gives us the ability to go with a third quarterback here. Paul says Thielen is one of my favorite late round picks. Tresner says it's never bad to pick Jalen Wright, my guy. The thing with Wright is he is... Off the top of my head, I can't think of another running back 3. I guess you have the Chargers guys. How many running back 3s are being drafted in every Best Ball Mania draft right now? I can think of the Chargers, the Dolphins, is that it? The Bears. And out of the teams that have 3 running backs getting drafted, Jalen Wright is by far and away the most expensive running back 3. And yeah, the Broncos. The Broncos, another good call. Well, it says, Mason, what are your thoughts on handcuffing Best Ball Mania? I think it can lead to a unique team at the very end for the playoff tournament. We've talked about this for years. In that, say you were to take Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier on the same roster. Hypothetically, what happens if Bijan has a high ankle sprain, misses 7 weeks during the season, and then all of a sudden, all the Bijan Robinson teams, or the vast majority, are knocked out before they get to the fantasy football playoff tournament, and then Bijan makes it back by week 13, and then for weeks 15 through 17, he's the RB1 in fantasy. If you drafted Tyler Algier on that roster, you may have leverage over the rest of the field, and you may be one of the only Bijan Robinson teams in that tournament. So I think handcuffing has its merits. It also has its downsides, though. And say you have Bijan and Tyler Algier on the same team, once you get to the playoff tournament, you essentially have one dead roster spot. So handcuffing, how I personally treat it, is I treat it as something that you can do if it falls to you and you get the players at a nice value, but it's not something that I'm actively targeting in my drafts. Okay. Wandell Robinson goes 174. I think I know who we're going to go here. Let's see what LedX does. I know they're in the live stream, so I don't want to say anything. They take our freaking guy. Are you kidding me? We'll go ahead. We'll take Marvin Mims. We'll hope that we get a spike week or 2. We can take Mims, and we can also set ourselves up with the potential to go ahead and take Bo Nix at the very end. This could have been a team if we really wanted to. We could have gone Baker Mayfield here, got Baker paired up with the receiving running back and Rachaad White, and taken Jalen McMillan in the next round. So maybe it was a mistake to take Mims. I think that was the other path that we had, but I was really wanting Michael Wilson, but Lennox snipes us. And yeah, if we hit 500 likes in the live stream, we'll fire up another draft, ladies and gentlemen. And I do want to say that this will most likely be a permanent thing here, that we are drafting at 8 p.m. Eastern rather than 9 p.m. Eastern. And the reason for that simply is I'm going to try to start going to bed early so I can wake up early. And I can't go to bed right after I live stream. It's impossible. So I want to have the time to like walk the dog, decompress. Okay. What are the odds we go Baker, McMillan makes it back around? We're not going to risk it. We're not doing it. Tracy goes, so we'll take Malachi Corley. So another guy that is falling in drafts, will continue to fall in drafts. What's funny, though, is Corley's falling and Mike Williams is falling at the same time. Maybe just people are seeing updated projections from the Jets offense and they're getting a little more nervous about these secondary names. But yeah, both Mike Williams and Malachi Corley are falling in ADP at the moment. And yeah, streams are going to start at 8 p.m. Eastern from now on. I hope that's not too big of an issue for everybody, but will allow me to walk the dog with the girlfriend. And also, as we get closer to the season, I'm assuming we will start hitting that 500 like goal by the time we get to the end of the second draft. And we'll end up doing 3 drafts in these live streams. And if we're doing 3 drafts in these live streams, we'll be streaming from like 7 to 9 every night. Central, that is. So 8 to 10 Eastern, which I think is just more manageable on my part. So yeah, I think going with Corley makes sense over Baker in that we have other potential quarterback stacks later as well. Like we can go Russ to pair up with Frymuth. We can go Carr to pair up with Olave. We can go Bo Nix to pair up with Mims. So we had some of those options whenever we decided to take Malachi over Baker. Raphael says, when are you doing a 24-hour live stream? I'm an old man. I'm going bald. I think if I do another 24-hour live stream, I'll be officially bald. So I don't know if we're going to do another 24-hour. Here's what I'll do for you. 1, I'll take Derek Carr for you, my friend. And 2, I will set an obnoxious goal that we are not going to hit. And if somehow we hit it, I'll do a 24-hour stream. If we hit 300,000 subscribers on this channel before the season starts, I'll do a 24-hour stream, my friend. The only way it could happen is we're going to start uploading YouTube Shorts. And if we start having some shorts pop off and we start getting shorts subscribers, which aren't really, they don't really matter, to be honest with you. But yeah, that would be like the only way we could hit it. Unless all of a sudden the world begins to recognize my greatness, begins to recognize, oh my gosh, let's listen to the guy that just took Derek Carr at pick 200. Ooh, watch him work his magic. And maybe we hit it. But we do have a TikTok. We're going to start uploading on TikTok more often. I just met with a TikTok editor, and we're going to start taking it seriously. Flooper says, head shaving stream win. 300,000 subscribers. Actually, how about this? If I win Best Ball Mania, I'm not going to commit to a 48-hour stream. A 48-hour stream would be suicide. I would not be able to do it. If we win Best Ball Mania, I will do a 24-hour live stream, and I'll shave my head completely bald. I'll shave my head Joe Rogan level bald on the live stream. But yeah, let me show off this board. I really hope that y'all have a great night. Thank you so much for sticking with us. This team Not going to act like it was the best team that we ever drafted. It was fine. I don't really see too many mistakes. I think the main mistake that I would point out would possibly be Pat Frymuth, where we took him, where I think running back in that round would have made more sense. But appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for everything. Really do hope you have a great night, and really hope I get to see you out with the live stream tomorrow.